Accessing library computer data.
And to make sure that history never forgets the name Enterprise.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Pensky Podcast. You haven't tuned in before. This is a podcast where we are running through all 178 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, giving our thoughts and feelings about each and every one. Right now we're up to episode 24 of season 5. This one is called The Next Phase. Directed by David Carson, written by Ronald D. Moore, and it aired back on May 18th, 1992. In this episode, the Enterprise responds to a distress call from a Romulan science ship. Lieutenant Commander Geordi LaForge and Ensign Ro Laren are lost in a transporter accident when returning to the Enterprise with a faulty generator from the Romulan ship. It's the one where Ro and Geordi are invisible and no one can see them. Modi's here to talk about this one with me. So right after this break, me and Modi are going to go deep on The Next Phase.
So force a browser, 2 people and 1 piece of equipment to beam aboard.
Aye, sir. What the hell? Engineering, I need more power to the primary energizing coil. Rossmer to Commander Riker, I'm losing them. I have to abort. They should be returning to your coordinates, sir.
Chief, do you have them? They're not here.
No, sir.
Where are they?
I can't locate their patterns. We've lost them, sir.
Next Phase, I think, is genre fiction at its finest. It asks you to take on a sort of unique situation that can't possibly happen in anything but genre fiction. That's like a strength of the medium and everything. And then it has just one sort of nagging problem that bites you at like nips away at your brain for the entire time that it's happening. Do you know what that problem is?
No, what is that problem?
The problem is, why don't they fall through the floor?
Yes! Oh my god! It was going to come up later this episode. It's like, it's most glaring when Geordi kicks the guy out the side of the ship. I'm like, wait a second. If that's true, then why are you guys still here? The ship is probably moving ever so slightly. You're floating through the floor right now. Yeah, that is it. You're nailed it. Yes. Episode over. We're done. Thanks for listening, everybody.
It's a great episode, but it's got that problem. And you know what? It's one of those weird things that you could fix it with a line in the script. You know, I don't know if it's necessary, but if you were like, oh, the floors have some kind of, like, if this field that's used to fix them is somehow a part of the engineering you get around it, it's not a huge deal. It's just something I find funny. And I totally agree that you most notice it when Geordi bum rushes the Romulan and just knocks him out of the ship.
Right, and they're like wrestling around on the ground. Like, okay, yeah, if your shoes are somehow magic that don't go through the floor, then you guys should just fell through just now.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, the simple answer to this is that it wouldn't be an episode if they did fall through the floor. So you can't have that happen.
Well, you'd have to.
I'm willing to suspend my disbelief, I guess, in that regard. But seriously.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd have to do it on a planet, but then they'd still just fall through the planet, you would think, and end up in the center of the Earth or something like that. Which I guess is what this was designed to do in the first place. But yeah, This is Next Phase, which features one of the few episodes that we get to sort of see what it's like if a character were to die on the ship. We've seen a couple of those before. I forget who. There's an early episode. Is it Data? Someone is. Yes, Data in The Most Toys, when the shuttlecraft blows up and they act like it didn't happen. This one, Data gets to flip it around because he throws the party at the end. But in the meantime, Geordi and Ro Laren are turned cloaked and invisible and sort of phased out of reality when they go to rescue a Romulan ship that's having engine problems, and they try to beam back and there's an accident. It's assumed that they're dead. We get a Ro Laren episode. Is this your second one with her?
I think so. I think it's our second, where she's focused. Not the second one she's appeared in, but second one where she's the focus.
Yep. And what did you... First of all, it's a great title. And I always appreciate episodes that have great titles. So the next phase is because they've been phased, like technologically, but also because Ro Laren is a Bajoran, so her first natural inclination is to assume that they're dead because they're very spiritual. So what do you think?
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
Yeah. it was good because, you know, it was a good pairing. First of all, like the pairing at first was like, okay, so the Geordi Rowe episode, this will never happen again or since. But have they ever even like talked to each other before? I don't know. But
do they know each other's names?
They're having dinner at the end together. Like, okay, I guess you guys hang out sometimes, maybe. But yeah, I like that she immediately jumps to the spiritual side of things, and it lets you explore that idea. And so, like, the title fits on both levels. I like it.
Yeah. And Geordi, of course, is the sci-fi guy who refuses to acknowledge that they're dead, and there must be a reason that this is going on.
He's in denial, obviously.
Yeah. He's
just dead. Just accept it.
And you're never gonna.
I do like his logical argument at the end. He's like, if I'm wrong, there doesn't matter. If I'm right, then there's a chance. So go with me, and you can't argue. I like it. I like the logic. He got through it.
There's no argument to that whatsoever. It's he's never going to cross over with that negative attitude, though. If he needs to, he needs to accept his fate.
Exactly. He'll be sixth sensing all over the place, and he'll just be pestering little boys in space in the future.
He brings up a good point also of why am I still blind in the afterlife?
Yeah, good point. why am I wearing clothes and why am I blind?
Although,
first of all, why wearing clothes first and then why am I blind? Actually, that's how he phrased it.
Yeah, I'd find the I don't know if I would go to I would if the afterlife existed, I wouldn't be surprised if everyone was wearing clothes. I think it would be more weird if everyone was not wearing clothes. I think that would be my sort of understanding. Or we'd just become those alien beings that we saw in the previous episode and sort of be flying around as a bubble.
Jordy's got some funny ideas about the afterlife, basically. He's expecting everyone to be naked.
So I think that's an interesting thing to sort of talk about. We'll come back to the episode itself, but I think we struggled in the last episode to sort of come to any kind of idea about what to talk about, which was the imaginary friend one. Mm-hmm. Because the episode was so scattershot that there wasn't really anything to latch onto. Here's something I was thinking about this episode. Why... There's a scene where they're in the shuttlecraft and Data and Worf are flying over, and Geordi and Rowe are hitchhiking in the back. Mm-hmm. And they're having a discussion about the spirituality and how different races handle death. Why?
Okay. Yeah.
Do you find it weird that there's such a schism between how these people live their lives and the immediate spirituality that so many of the races go to? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of get what you mean. Yeah.
Like they don't... For as like inquisitive as they are about everything else, they're not particularly inquisitive. There's no character who's like, they're just dead, guys. Like, move on. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. There's no atheist being like, guys, they're just gone. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I guess that's Data is that character maybe, but he still feels the need to honor them somehow or cope with it somehow or whatever. The point of, I mean, I guess get to the point of what is the point of a funeral and who's it for, that kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And Data maybe is of the understanding of the higher mind that it's for the people that are at it kind of thing. And he obviously is because he throws the party for it and he becomes the understanding himself. Doesn't really, take any time in the episode to explain that. But I think that was the goal behind his little party here.
Yeah. I think it comes back to like I understand that being the point of the Bajorans. Like they're sort of written to be that kind of like they're the spiritual race. And this is very early in sort of their creation. So it makes a lot of sense to me that this is a Rowe storyline because that ties into her characterization. Worf's understanding of everything is a little bit more odd to me, I guess. Although I guess it comes back to the whole I don't understand how the Klingons exist, basically.
Okay.
Like how I don't understand how they sort of with the way that their culture exists, I don't understand how they proceed in towards anything. Like I don't understand how they build things. I don't understand any of that.
That's true.
They should just be killing each other all the time.
Right. Because I mean, their highest achievement of life is to die in battle, basically.
Right.
That's a good death is the highest honor one can attain. And I get his perspective on it as far as Geordi goes, I guess, but it's just kind of I don't know. I guess, yeah, why don't they just kill each other all the time if they would just attain that higher level then?
Right. Yeah, what's holding them back from... They're basically just anarchists at that point, although, like, they're basically, like... They're stuck in this rut, which is interesting to me. I find it fascinating that the show doesn't really ever... It's never going to have an episode that goes against that. It's a sci-fi show that embraces the spirituality of something, and a lot of the time the spirituality is explained as an alien. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For all the times that they run into like there was that episode, Justice, the space god, which they never believed for a second was a god. They're like, that's not a god, that's an alien. You know what I mean?
They've encountered the devil before,
right?
And they knew immediately that it wasn't the devil.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that even though they've seen all these things, they still have a place for the unexplained, which is kind of fascinating to me. And it's
yeah, it is kind of interesting. It's kind of just a higher idea of spirituality in general rather than religion, maybe.
Yes, yeah.
That, you can believe that there's an afterlife as long as you're just doing your own thing. And mostly, unless you're in the episode Ethics, where it's going to be you killing yourself because that's what your code and honor,
tells you about.
Dictate. Code and religion dictate, then maybe. But yeah, I guess they just kind of have the idea of spirituality. All spirituality is right, kind of thing, maybe.
Yes, I think
all is accepted.
That's true. Yeah, they do have everyone has the right opinion, and they all sort of happen at the same time, which is kind of fascinating. And yeah, Data's left to parse out what that actually means. And he ends up with a jazz banquet for a funeral,
which is just an excuse for Jonathan Frakes to play the trombone again.
Yes, it seemed more dubbed than ever.
Yeah, that's true. It did seem more dubbed this time because it was kind of off camera the way they shot it. Yeah.
What do you think Riker was going to say about Ro?
I don't know. I mean, he might have just been trying to come up with something on the spot. Maybe he didn't actually have anything to say. He's just trying to look like he cared. Maybe, I don't know. He knew the whole time she was there. He was just messing with her.
I'd have a hard time. I don't 100%. I don't know what he would say. I have a hard time saying that he's completely on her side just because of their relationship. He might bring up the time they had sex when they didn't remember who each other were. Like, I don't know what else he would want to talk about. He also sort of gave the short shrift to Geordi when Picard's like, "Oh, you knew Geordi the longest," and Riker's like, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about him."
I don't want to talk about Ro. Yeah, very strange. But maybe he figured Geordi's covered by everyone else.
Yeah, Data's there to give a speech for him.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of the construction of this episode in terms of how this plot sort of develops? The cold open ends with basically their death. You don't see them for a little while. And then you see them in separate places. They get reunited. And then after that, they meet a phased Romulan. So what's your general take on that sort of storyline?
I think this episode's pretty well written, actually. The beats hit well at the right times with the way they bring in more escalation each act break kind of thing. Yeah. Each commercial break, they bring in more escalation, and they resolve it. Don't resolve it right away necessarily. They'll let you stew on that for a minute, because the other Romulan appears, it's not explained, it goes into the act break, and then he doesn't come up for another 5-10 minutes still. Right. So they cut to him finally just walking around the ship finally, but they don't fully get into it. I mean, there's a level of appreciation for the audience, I think, at this point, that they can let you make your own conclusions for a time and not have to explain everything immediately like they would have had to do in past seasons, maybe.
Yeah.
I do think this episode is very well written, though.
I agree. I think it's sort of it's structured very nicely. Like the scenes all sort of flow into each other. I don't know if the Romulan that's phased ultimately serves that big of a purpose, besides a chance to sort of show off the special effects of what they're doing. What's his motivation for what he does, basically?
Yeah, he says, I want to find the guy who said he can get us back to reality, and then wants to shoot him. I don't quite understand, why is she oh yeah, we can get you out of here, buddy. Yeah, it's cool. Don't worry about the gun. We can talk this over. We'll get out of here. He doesn't explain what his intentions are at all.
Right. Yeah. And why doesn't he, do the Romulan thing of aligning with them until he can get the upper hand, basically?
That's what he should be doing. Yeah. He'd be why would, he's going to be pretending to cooperate just like the other Romulans are.
Yep.
And until the last moment where he can betray them.
Right.
Classic Romulan stuff.
Classic Romulans, just like they try to do here.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think that his reveal is fantastic, though, where they shoot a scene where he's sort of in front of the camera for a while and he doesn't say anything, And then the scene ends, and he just follows them off, and he walks through the console.
Yeah, that was really good. It was a good beat, and well written. Like I said, it's there's a lot of good stuff in this episode. Actually, even the comic relief in the episode isn't played for big laughs. It's funny without making you distracted by it.
Yeah.
So like the ongoing row thing of like what is he gonna say about me is kind of played for laughs. But it's not really played for laughs. It's just comic relief without. It's like it's tension relief rather than it's comic relief. Maybe.
Yeah. I totally agree. And the another good example is when Ro is in there and then Geordi comes in later and he says, "Excuse me, Captain," and Picard's just sitting and staring at his laptop as those two are talking to each other. It's a good funny.
Yeah, that's
moment.
good. That's good. It's funny without without drawing too much attention to it. That's supposed to be funny.
Yep.
There's the scene where she fires through Riker's head.
Yeah.
Because she's mad at him because she won't find out what he's actually saying about her.
Yep.
All of it's played well for comedic effect without drawing attention to itself. It seems like confident that we know this is funny. We don't have to like tell you that it's funny kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I totally agree with that. It's and just going back to the nicely written thing, I think the way they managed to delay the Enterprise going to warp, which would be game over for them. They do it kind of cleverly. Like there's the one thing where Picard's about to say engage, and that engineer or the Chief O'Brien, who's not Chief O'Brien, the woman, comes in and says like, "Oh, we can't do it. Mr. Data said that we have to do this for an hour or whatever." It's just the delays in the script, even though they're clearly narrative, kind of make sense within terms of what they're doing.
It's the kind of thing where you can tell it's written. It's not played for any kind of authenticity kind of thing. Like it's obviously a teleplay.
Yep.
But it's such a well-written thing that you don't care.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
The coincidences are too coincidental, but it's fine because it works, you know?
Yep. No, I totally agree. Yeah, just get rid of that Romulan out of there. But it's
yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then we wouldn't be, even if he hadn't attacked Geordi, we wouldn't even be asking questions about why they're not falling through the floor, honestly. Because it never occurred to me until that point.
And
then after that, it's like, oh yeah, wait, this is breaking everything that I thought about this episode now.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of little clues left in. Like they leave the traces of whatever it is that Data is scanning for. So that's how they recognize that that's what they're doing, because it's happening in every place that they've been in. Data, I like the idea of. I just like the scene where Data shoots Geordi with whatever that scanner is, and he can't push his hand through the thing as easily. I do feel it takes Data a long time to put things together, a little bit.
But
that's so?
I think Geordi alludes to it by saying he doesn't have imagination for it.
Oh, sure, sure.
Yeah, he like yells at him for not having imagination while he's trying to do the whole thing with the console.
Right. He keeps scanning the same spot over and over again. I can't understand it. Yeah, it's neat. I like I think it does a good job of, it's a sci-fi story mixed with something a little bit deeper, but it doesn't really probe that other side particularly hard. It's just kind of talks about it for a little bit, and then it gets back to the sci-fi. Do you think that the balancing act that they did between the play on the phrase next phase was effective enough, or would you have liked to see one side go a little bit deeper?
They could have played it a little bit further, because once Geordi gives her the thing about, if I'm wrong, there's no harm that can come from me investigating this. Once that happens, she just drops all investigation of the idea that she's actually dead. Yeah, like she accepts it at that point. I feel like that something else is going on. Yeah, but if she had held on to it a little stronger, maybe tried to. They would have to write it differently, but if there was some way she could build up to like her resolving, doing what she thinks she needs to do in order to pass on to the next life kind of thing. Yeah. And doing that and then finding out it doesn't work. Like, so she comes to the same conclusion through a spiritual way that he comes through a science way, and then they both realize that it's what actually is going on kind of thing, maybe. Yeah. I don't know how. You'd have to write it a little differently as far as her perspective on it, maybe. But that's the way you'd want to dovetail that, I think, if you wanted to keep it going with the spiritual angle of it.
I think you triggered something in me that would tie into the what if you had opened this episode with her and Riker having the typical argument that they always seem to have, you know? And like they beam down to this mission sort of frustrated with each other. And
oh yeah,
she
like
dies.
She has to make amends,
right?
Yeah.
And that's her thing is like, oh, I should make amends, and that makes sense with why Riker would be writing this thing about her that she never gets to hear, and that would be her sort of like her coming back to life would be her accepting, you know, that her faults for being so combative with people or something like that,
right? And then she realizes it's not true actually. It's
right.
just all science. No, your religion is not real.
And she comes back, as whatever the.
And she's even more jaded than before. Yeah,
I think you could do something like that. I do feel that it's.
I don't need it though, to be honest. I mean, it drops it at the point where it no longer becomes interesting anymore. I feel like
that's true.
Maybe,
yeah. I think I agree. Like I think they could have stretched it that way. I don't know how much it serves outside of. Maybe it would be an interesting episode to see, but I don't know if it's completely necessary because I do tend to prefer just the sci-fi aspect of the
and
storyline.
It would make the episode slow down too much. I think it keeps it moving pretty well here. I think.
Yes.
So
yeah. We'd cut out that scene that made us question the floor thing. We just get rid of that. Plug in something new. Interesting.
Get rid of a reason. I mean, they need a reason. The way to resolve this instead of having the Romulans show up out of the blue is them to find that engine part that went bad.
Yep.
That teleported with them.
Oh, right.
And then they find that, and they can use that to overload the room in the nick of time kind of thing, maybe.
Oh, right.
Because the phaser set to overload.
Yeah, because that thing would have come through cloaked like they would be. Yeah, that's true.
So it's sitting there someplace. They have to find it. They need to use it to make the Chrontons or whatever overload. And I think the only reason that he's there is so that they can it's got some third act problem that they didn't have a way to escalate it from them to get out of their own situation there.
Yeah,
so the writer added in that Romulan coming in with the phaser or disruptor, I guess, and so that was the third act flaw that they had with that because they needed to write their way out of that. I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have included more. Yeah, that's a good idea to include like more material that became cloaked. Or something like that.
Yeah, they teleported with that part, so why didn't they use it again?
Right. Yeah. They needed to be repaired. Yeah. And another. I do think this one's really. It is well written. I do have one scene that makes me. I wonder if this script came in short because there's the scene where Riker and Worf talk about giving the Romulans an old computer, and it feels like it's like a minute of nothing. Like, nothing of this matters whatsoever.
I had forgotten how this episode goes. I thought they were going to somehow use the old computer to communicate or something like that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole scene where he's like, "We can't give them our technology." I don't know. Maybe it's to reestablish that the Federation's careful but not unhelpful kind of thing.
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know. And it makes the betrayal better than when the Romulans want to betray them later. But. Yeah, there's no point for them to bring that up at all.
It seems weird to me that Worf, like, after Riker's like, yeah, okay, do it. And Worf walks off and then he comes back and he's like, thank you. Like Riker gave him some like deep like understanding of what he needs to do. It just doesn't make any sense in context of the episode. It always sticks out to me as kind of a weird scene. The other thing that makes me laugh, there's just a couple moments when when they're at the start and they're trying to eject the Romulan warp core. They have to shut that door for whatever reason. And Worf is like struggling. He's like, he's like, Commander. And Riker just goes over and picks the thing up and moves it out of the way for him. Not a lot of respect for Worf in that episode.
Again, Worf gets the shaft for being the tough guy that never gets to be tough guy.
And Data just comes over and shuts the door.
No, let me get that for you guys.
Yeah, you get out of the way.
You move it. Yeah.
And also the Romulans and Worf get along pretty well. All things considered.
Surprising. Also, all very surprising. Usually there's a lot more hostility there. They in general, the Romulans are pretty accepting of the Federation help here. I just think it's odd that they just showed up apropos of nothing. Like, what are you doing here? They're like, well, we saw that you were in trouble. Your distress signal. We're here. But
and they just let him go.
Why
at the end?
Yeah. Like within the first 2 minutes of them showing up on board though, they're already like elbow deep in the engine.
Yes.
And it's like no foreplay here, huh? Just get right into it, guys.
Get right into this guy. Yeah, I think it's weird because in the script it's mentioned that they were testing a warp drive and they're like, oh, that's why they're so far in Federation territory. And I would be like, maybe we should seize this ship. You know, like who knows what these guys have been doing. The Federation is very trusting of its.
You've done worse for less. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. They could totally seize that for sure.
You know, apparently people entering the neutral zone is like red alert, you know, all hands to battle stations, where this ship comes in, they're like, just get out of here, you guys, you crazy
Yeah, that
Romulans.
makes me think I missed something this season with like some type of treaty or something like that with the Romulans that let them come into the area, because they're awfully cordial with each other here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, did I miss something? Like there was some type of agreement that happened? But nope, it's the same old business, but for some reason they don't care today because it's good for the... They need someone that's going to betray them, so they need to use the Romulans. They kind of work backwards from that, maybe.
And correct me, the Romulans just leave at the end, right?
They let him go.
They just let him go. Right, yeah. So they just go back in the Enterprise.
They're already gone. They're already gone because, they let them leave to go via Warp 2 to wherever.
Yeah.
And then they have to finish their repairs on the Enterprise, so they don't go after them at all. But yeah, those Romulans just get to leave. But that's before they knew anything was like not on the up and up, though.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. It's it is a weird interaction with the Romulans that they have here. So I guess we'll wrap it with a little bit discussion of the finale here, which is the funeral, not funeral, but like a wake scene, I guess it would be more apt, where Geordi and Ro fix themselves and phase back in reality for a little bit. I find it a very satisfying ending for some reason, on some sort of narrative level. Just seeing the glimpse of them at the start where they're yelling, and Picard asks Data if he sees that as well.
It's like, what did we see? Yeah, they needed to have two people there in order to see it. Like if it was just one person, they might have disregarded it.
Right.
But having both Picard and Data there is the perfect situation for that to happen. Because they're going to figure it out, kind of thing. You know,
Geordi and Rose should have run into Isabel from the Imaginary Friend on the ship. She should have still been there. And just
Clara just has a mental breakdown as she sees these people materialize that she's known for a long time.
It becomes the sixth sense of TNG. Clara sees dead people. Yeah, I can definitely say that. I like the ending. I find it satisfying. I like the Geordi and Data scene is touching. Brent Spiner does his best android work, I think, in that scene. Yeah. For whatever reason.
Like no emotion. You feel like he should have something going on, but it's just completely cold.
Yep.
Still exactly. It's just, hey, how you doing today, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's good to have you back, Geordi.
Good to have you back, sir. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's a neat little episode. I think we're done talking about it, though. We'll wrap it up here. It's the next phase, so I'm going to play an audio clip. We'll come back and give our final thoughts and ratings for the next phase.
Do you see us? We're right here! We're right here!
Did you see that, Mr. Data?
Yes, sir. Come on, Data, put her all together now.
These were not ghosts. What did we see?
I believe I may know what has happened, sir. Oh, Data, please be right. It would explain the mysterious chronoton fields. If they were cloaked in some way.
You're saying that they're still alive?
I am right, sir, they are. And in this room, their brief appearance coincided with the Anion's sweep. Perhaps the Anyons neutralized the cloaking effect. Chief Brosmer.
Yes, Commander.
Set the anionic beam to its highest level and flood 10 forward.
Aye, sir.
They're not really dead. They're just out of phase. Next phase, it is episode 24, season 5. Getting close to the end here. This is a goodie. I like this one. What'd you think?
Yeah. This is a 5 for me.
Oh, really? Interesting.
This is a good one. This is well written. It's good sci-fi. There's nothing wrong with this episode aside from not falling through the floor. And maybe the problems with the Romulan at the end, but like I don't know, it works for me.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah,
it's a 5.
I think everything that we were nitpicking there is really just kind of it's just like whatever. That
we're
doesn't
bored,
really matter.
So we're looking for things to nitpick. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think it's a very solid episode. It kind of reminds me now that I'm thinking about it of The Mind's Eye, which is also it feels similar to that one. It's like very solid and end of season kind of episode. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's
absolutely.
It's different. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, I think. I really enjoy it. It's one that I watch a lot. The concept's really strong. I think it's missing that 5 tier for some reason. But I do agree that it's a very strong one. It's something that I always tend to rewatch. And it's we don't have many Ro Laren episodes left, I don't think.
Man, she's great.
You know what? You know what's weird about season 5? They bring in a bunch of people, and those people have a couple episodes in season 5, and then they disappear after that. Mm-hmm. Ro does it, and Alexander. I think Alexander has 1 episode left that he's in, maybe 2 or something like that. But Loxana is also done with. So we're getting to the point in the series.
Is O'Brien gone now too? Over to Deep Space Nine now?
No, he has 1 more episode left, I think. Okay. Although that would make sense as to why he's not.
Yeah, they're testing out a lot more of the engineering and teleporter people.
I'd have to check the dates. This one aired on May 18th. He might have been working on Deep Space Nine at this point.
Keiko makes a brief appearance in Imaginary Friend, I believe.
Oh, does she?
They mention her.
They mention her. Yeah, they mention her.
I don't know if we actually see her, though. Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, that's true. People let me know down below in the comments if that would make sense. I think O'Brien has 1 last appearance, and it's Rascals, which is an early season 6 episode. Uh-huh. So he might have just come back for that one.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel bad if I miss the characters on their last episode. I feel like I've let down the podcast by not bringing it up. It's very devastating to me. All right, cool. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed the content, you're on YouTube, a like and a comment, appreciate it. If you're on iTunes, a rating and review helps get the show out there. Thanks for all the great comments so far. Modi, thanks for coming on.
No problem.
This is your season 5 finale, so we'll see you in season 6.
Absolutely.
And only 2 seasons of TNG left after that. But guys, thanks very much. I will see you later.